Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Monday to you wherever you are. Welcome, 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 welcome. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome to the live. Wherever you are. Happy Monday. Coming in, coming in. Tell somebody, tell somebody, tell somebody. Today we're talking about the difference between boundaries and walls, particularly when you wake up from narcissistic abuse. The nexus between boundaries and walls, particularly when you wake up from narcissistic abuse. Boundaries and walls after you wake up from narcissistic abuse. This is what we're going to be talking about. So, if you've ever experienced narcissistic abuse, I wondered if you were doing the wrong thing or the right thing. You are in the right place. Tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody. Today, we're talking about the difference between boundaries versus walls. That's what we're going to go into today. The difference between boundaries and walls. Come on in and come on in and tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody. We're talking about boundaries versus walls. Hi, Leanne. Welcome in. Hi, Donna Marie. Donna Marie. Mystical Raven, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Everybody come on in. Very happy to be here with you. So today we're talking about the difference between boundaries versus walls. The difference between boundaries versus walls. This is what we're going into today. And particularly for anyone who's overcome narcissistic abuse. Hi, Ellie. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hope everyone had a good, relaxing last 2 days. You know, if you're enjoying, I hope you're all doing well. Blessings, blessings. Is Impande, I guess. Right? Pardon me if I got it right. Hi, blessed 456. Greetings to you. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Today we're talking about the difference between boundaries versus walls. And in the background, I have Gnawa music, all the way from Morocco. Enough Gnawa music. So sorry about a heat wave. I was in California teaching yesterday in Oregon and Portland. I'm sorry, I was in Oregon. And there was an incredible heat wave over there in Portland yesterday. So I can't imagine what it was like further south. Hopefully you're okay in Orange County, Leanne. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Hi, Kimmy. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. So today we're talking about the difference between boundaries versus walls when it comes to escaping narcissistic abuse. The difference between boundaries vis-a-vis walls when it comes to escaping from narcissistic abuse. Hi, Live Free. It was your birthday. Happy birthday or happy belated, right? So this is what we're going to go into. In the background, we've got some, like I said earlier, some Gnawa music. Gnawa music is very spiritual music from Morocco. It's from the Amazigh people, the desert people in the Atlas Mountains. Amazigh, the Gnawa. So, you know, I'm always connected to all things truly spiritual all over the world. From Morocco to Ghana to South Africa to Mongolia to Siberia to New Zealand, everywhere. To Peru, to Brazil. It's all shamanic, indigenous, aboriginal. That's what it is. But anyway, let's get into it, right? What do you get, Linus, loneliness, ever ends? What do you get? What are you getting, my brother? What do you get? I don't know what you get. You got to tell me what you get. But let me get started. I can finally feel myself gain after 2 years leaving a narcissistic relationship. That's so glad, Cali Fresh. So first of all, there is a difference between boundaries and walls, okay? There really is a difference. Although they may sound synonymous, there is a difference. And the difference is not merely conceptual, right? We're talking about a difference that is energetic, right? It's in your auric field. It's a difference that is somatic, so you feel it in this machine, this computer. It's also mathematical, because it's based on loops and rhythms and law. It is spiritual, and it's existential. So if you're an empath, which I presume everyone here is, for the most part, you're one who absorbs, feels, and mirrors deeply into the energies of those around you. And you've likely learned to build walls that look like protection from your trauma, you see? But you mistake your silence for safety. You call absence healing, and that's not what it is. But deep down, you're not healed. You're hiding. So today, we're not going to talk about this in a way that is self-helping. This is about activating you. This is an advanced transmission for those who are ready to reclaim their nervous systems, your energetic sovereignty, and your spiritual destiny beyond narcissistic enslavement. So let me start with some definitions, right? And before I start, am I talking to you? Is this what you want to hear about? The difference between boundaries and walls? Or am I just talking to myself? Somebody let me know. And if I'm talking to you, just type transform in the comment section. Unique dialect. So first of all, boundaries and walls are not the same. Boundaries and walls, Dawn Marie, are not the same, Leon, because they are born of different psychologies. Okay, we're coming with it. We're coming with it, Mr. Craven. Thank you, Kimmy. Okay, unique dialect. We're coming with it. You see, the difference between boundaries and walls are that they are born out of different consciousness and they produce different timelines. Thank you, Telaboo. Let me go into more specifics. So a boundary or boundaries are an intentional, energetic decision that is grounded in clarity and coherence. And a boundary is designed to invite alignment, not abandonment. And a boundary requires interiority, meaning you need to know yourself, who you are, in order to set one successfully. And boundaries are designed to allow resonance to flow in whilst repelling dissonance, meaning inviting things that are good for you and ensuring that things that are not good for you cannot even come in. So imagine you heal yourself so much to a point that the only people who can approach you are people who have good intentions, right? Or people who have very dark energies, which you spot very quickly. But let me keep going. And again, we're talking about the difference between boundaries and walls, right? So for those just joining, welcome in. Now, what are walls? Walls are simply trauma defenses that emerge when your nervous system no longer believes the world is safe. That's a wall. And these walls are built unconsciously, usually after betrayal or abuse or abandonment or some type of spiritual hijack. You see, it's unconscious. And these walls are thick, they are rigid, and they are reactive. And they don't differentiate between safe and unsafe. Everything becomes a threat. So why do empaths, particularly empaths who are not fully healed, confuse the two? Well, it happens, hi Vagabond, it happens because our trauma defenses emerge when the nervous system believes the world is no longer safe. And when you've been energetically colonized by a narcissist, you lose your internal compass. You lose who you are. Because it's important to realize that boundaries require self-trust. Boundaries require self-trust. In fact, boundaries are a good way to improve relationships that are good for you and to get rid of relationships that are not worthy. You see, boundaries require self-trust, whereas walls require nothing but fear. This is the reason why many abuse survivors feel powerful in isolation, but empty when you're in the presence of your abuser. That's because you haven't become sovereign. You're just unavailable. You're still in resonance. And the whole idea behind boundaries is to get to a place where there is no more resonance with anything that's hateful. You said it, Dawn Marie. That's exactly it. So let me go deeper into the anatomy of boundaries versus walls. And here we're going to go into the nervous system. And by the way, before I keep going, am I talking to you? Am I making sense? Somebody tell me if I'm making sense. Because I don't want to get caught up in just talking to myself, Ellie. I don't want to just keep going on and on and on and on, Kiki. Tell me if I'm talking to you, right? Tell me, folks, if I'm making sense. This is what we're talking about. Thank you, Coach Rafaela. Obrigada. This is what it is. Thank you, Kimmy. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Tarabu. Thank you, Cali Fresh. Thank you, Dawn Marie. Thank you, Ispande. So let me keep going into the anatomy of boundaries, right? Thank you, Ellie. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. So you see that example happened. I want to hear about it soon, Coach Rafael. I want to hear about it. But let me go into the difference, the anatomy of boundaries versus walls. H. Tim Sala. And I said we're going to go into the nervous system, and here we're going to start with polyvagal theory. I love polyvagal theory a lot because it talks about the vagus nerve, which is this nerve that connects your spine. It goes down your neck to various organs in your body. But it's also a place for regulation. If you feel regulated, more than likely it's because there's coherence in your vagus nerve. You see, so boundaries arise where your brain, heart, and gut are in electrical coherence, because we are electric beings anyway. When you come into wholeness, Leanne, not fragmentation. Whereas walls are birthed during sympathetic flight, or when your vagus nerve shuts down, where survival overrides awareness. Now, what does a boundary feel like? A boundary feels supportive. A boundary makes you feel like your vagal tone is ideal and calm. A boundary feels like you're present and calm even under pressure. A boundary means you're able to say no without fear or guilt. No, niet, whatever variation of no, nah, right? So let me go through it again. The way you know you're dealing with a boundary, Dawn Marie, is that your vagal tone is very high. You're calm. Your heart is not in anxiety. You're calm. You're present, even if you're in the face of the narcissist, whether it's your mom or dad or whoever, husband, wife. You also have the capacity to say no without fear or guilt. Whereas the neurological signature of a wall is there's muscle rigidity. You're stiff, tensed up. There is breath holding or shallow breathing. Thank Miss Mother Earth, right? There's hypervigilance or dissociation. And there's withdrawal, Mr. Coraven. There's withdrawal. So a boundary is a waveform. It moves, it modulates, and it learns. Whereas a wall is a flat line. No growth, no interaction, no evolution. And what narcissistic abuse does is it neurologically hijacks you because it causes a fragmentation of yourself where your yes becomes coerced and your no becomes punished. So to build a boundary, you must first reclaim your vagus nerve, regulate the body, and the boundary will emerge. It's almost like saying, when you become so self-loving to yourself, anything that looks like breadcrumbing or faking is immediately revealed. And that's because you're in a place of love, so love bombing doesn't work anymore. It's the same thing with a boundary. The more self-loving you are, the more natural a boundary feels. The more self-loathing you are, the more you need an artificial wall to protect you. But that wall is only conditioned on the rigidity. It doesn't deal with the resonance and the root cause of why you're feeling the way you are, Cali Fresh. Am I making sense? Somebody tell me if I'm making sense. You know I'm listening to this Gnawa music from Morocco, and sometimes Gnawa can put me in a trance, like this. Gnawa. This is highly spiritual, dissonant music, and it puts me right here. Am I making sense, folks? You got to tell me. I'm taking a moment with this Gnawa music. If I'm making sense, let me know. If I'm talking to you, muy bueno, yes. Pathological, Narcs sees a boundary as an act of war. Of course they do, but Narcs also respect boundaries. Thank you, Coach Rafaela. Narcs are found because when you have a boundary, you speak from a boundary perspective, you sound like you mean it. When you have a wall, you don't sound like you mean it. Gnawa. Okay, I'm getting some feedback that I'm making sense. I'm going to keep going. They sure do. Of course they do. You see? So, first of all, the whole point of this is to reclaim your nervous system, Cynthia. Do you see? So, a healthy boundary behaves like a torus field. It's like these electromagnetic fields that surround the human heart. It expands, it contracts, it modulates in real time based on coherence, number one, perception. Let me break it down. See, a boundary exists in a non-linear space, non-Euclidean space, meaning that it follows chaotic coherence, chaos theory plus order. And a boundary reacts like a fractal. It's adaptive, it's intelligent, it has infinite complexity from very simple rules. Please don't speak to me that way ever again. What makes you think you can say that to me? These are the way you exercise your boundaries. Whereas walls are a closed loop. They are non-adaptive, they are rigid, and they eventually collapse. If I don't love myself, how to love another first? That's exactly it, Kali Fresh. Now, in the Kabbalistic tree of life, in the Kabbalah, Leon, the Sephirah Gevurah, which is the part of the Sephirot that teaches about restraints and boundaries, is only activated when it's balanced with love, which means boundaries come from love. It's about restraints rooted in love. Boundaries hold love. Walls cut love. So there's a cosmic imbalance between boundaries and walls. Boundaries are rooted in self-love. Walls are rooted in fear. You don't confuse the two. Boundaries are rooted in coherence. Walls are rooted in fear. Boundaries operate like a membrane in a cell. They allow nutrients in. They keep toxins out, and they communicate across membranes. Whereas walls cut off all communication. They mimic death. Remember, even when you cut off a narcissist, it's not enough to cut off a narcissist because you're resonant to the vibration of hate. It's important to become non-resonant to anything that's hateful. Thank you, Dawn Marie. Well, boundaries do protect your nervous system. And if it didn't protect your nervous system, it was a wall. That's what I'm talking about, Tewabu. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Because boundaries are effective. Boundaries are rooted in clarity. Don't do it. Even in prison, people have boundaries. Like, has anyone seen the movie The Hurricane Carter? Reuben the Hurricane Carter was sentenced to life and he had boundaries. I am not wearing the prison clothing. Because he was rooted in his sense of innocence. He had no fear if he had to go into the hole. Boundaries are the same. They're rooted in love, whereas walls are rooted in fear, hate. You see? Now let me go even further into wisdom traditions that prove the same point I'm making to you. So in Buddhist psychology, and I know there's a few Buddhists here, but we're not talking about Buddhism as a religion, but more as a way of thinking. In Buddhist psychology, a boundary is a combination of right view and right action, meaning that it's knowing that you are suffering and it's your karma, and it's you choosing to stop the cycle. A wall, however, is an aversion, which is avoidance. So for those who like the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Let me say this again. This is Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this. Well, if you don't get it, then it means it's not for you, Evelise. And if it's not for you, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So in Stoic philosophy, again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strengths. That's the purpose of having an internal boundary. You said it, Coach Rafaela. You see, a wall is simply a refusal. A boundary is simply you living on your terms. In Hermeticism, I'm a big Hermetic follower. I love Hermes Trismegistus, right? Maybe I should play Hermes Trismegistus from Georgie Ben. This is what happens, right? In Hermetic philosophy, you realize that as above, so below. That's the law of correspondence, right? And in the law of correspondence, if your inner world is walled off, your outer world becomes a desert. Okay, Terabu, I understand, but I'm just telling you what science is proving, not opinion, right? So, and let's be clear on the difference between a boundary and a wall, right? The difference between a boundary and a wall. So just reflect on this very carefully. So if your inner world is walled off, your outer world becomes a desert. And you have to know that anything that happens in your world that you don't like is rooted in something internal. And it sounds like I'm blaming you. I'm not. I'm just telling you how powerful you are. You see? So when you set true boundaries, the universe begins to respond. This is seen in Sufism, in Christian mysticism, in Buddhism. They all speak to this because walls create illusions. Well said, Coach Rafaela. That's what I was trying to tell him. Walls create illusions, whereas boundaries reveal the divine. Thank you, Emian Kalanu. Walls create illusions. I'm safe. Whereas boundaries reveal the divine, your own power. You cannot build a heaven inside a bunker. Tawabu. You cannot build a heaven inside a bunker. Unless you can. Then maybe you can teach us how to do that. But let me go even deeper. Empaths build walls because we have been trained to ignore the scream of our own nervous system. Oh, Evelise, you said it. Evelise, you said it. I thought you said you didn't get it. You were giving up on yourself before you tapped into your divine intelligence on your own, Evelise. 100. And thank you, Coach Rafaela, for the interpretations here. You see, the narcissist doesn't need to hit you to break you. They just need to bypass your boundary detection system like they did with Terabu. And the way they do it is through love bombing, which floods your system with dopamine, feel good, oxytocin, I love you. To gaslighting, which creates cortisol, stress. Sorry, Yadbant, I'm sorry that happened to you. Right? V, how do you know the difference? That's what we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes. A wall is rooted in fear, a boundary is rooted in love. So you build a wall not as a choice, but as a trauma adaptation. A wall is built as a trauma adaptation, Mr. Raven, you said it. But walls, my dear empaths, do not protect you from spiritual vampires and predators and narcissists. Walls don't. They will only disconnect you from yourself. You become severed from yourself. That's what walls do. That's why when you have walls, people with walls have complexes and all kinds of things. This is why you keep attracting narcissists, because a wall creates an echo chamber of unresolved energy. You said it, Dawn Marie. That's exactly it. Pumpkin rice. You got it. You got it. Mine did when you realized you couldn't break me. I love that, Susan girl. You see? Okay, Terabu. I mean, if that's your understanding of it, I'm with you. I understand where you are. But boundaries don't just require you to leave. The boundaries, I'm sitting right here, and I'm fully in my right to sit here, and you have no business talking to me about where I should sit. So don't even try to speak to me about it. It's as simple as because I know who I am. For us, a wall is I'm so afraid to be talked to. I'm going to hide. I'm not going to make eye contact. And if you ask me to leave, I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear you. That's the difference. One is sovereign. One is scared. Which one are you, Telaboo? Are you sovereign or are you scared? Come on. Don't be afraid of these narcissists. The narcissist wins because they intimidate you into fear, Telaboo. Okay, Telaboo, I won't tell you what to do. And if this live is not connected with you, then you can get off the live, right? But we're here to solve issues. If it doesn't work for you, there's nothing personal. But don't project here. We're sharing, and we share here based on honesty and passion. So you build a wall not as a choice, but as a trauma adaptation. But walls do not protect you from spiritual predators. Boundaries, however, emit a frequency of non-resonance. Don't play with me. Oh, that was her reaction. I get it. Oh, terrible. Well, you did yourself a big favor, my Buddhist brother. You see, what do you do when you're in between fear and sovereignty? This is what we're doing, Path of Resistance. You're learning how to get into your strength. Because a narcissist, here's this, if you don't listen to anything I said today, not because I'm saying it, if I may share with you and trust your own intelligence, a narcissist cannot enter your field if your vibration is clean, coherent, and sealed with clarity. I'm going to say it 2 more times. I'm going to say it as softly as I can. A narcissist cannot enter your field if your vibration is clean, coherent, and sealed with clarity, Coach Raphael. But you knew this. Hope for Health 1. A narcissist may try to seduce a boundary, but they cannot survive within it because a boundary is created from a place of love. And remember, no narcissist can exist where there is love. The narcissists thrive only where there is hate. And a wall is exactly that. So the narcissist will try and, this is what the Hoover is for. The Hoover is designed to break down your wall. That's why most Hoovers are successful. And remember, the narcissist has no shame. It's all about the end. It doesn't matter what it looks like to them. So there's a very strong way of being able to tell whether you are building walls or boundaries. And if you want to learn more about this, book a free session with me at innermanage.com, and we can go into your specific dynamic, even if we don't work together, because I work mainly based on resonance. But there's things you could do that can help you determine whether you're using a wall or a boundary. You see? So I want to end here. Now I'll take some questions, some video questions or text questions, that to transcend narcissistic abuse, you must reclaim your energetic architecture. You must move from fear-based withdrawal to intelligent protection, from unconscious repetition to decisions that are rooted in sovereignty, Dawn Marie, right? This is what it is, Shakia. I refuse to hate. This is how you move from hyper-independence to sacred interdependence, Ivelisse. So boundaries are a quantum technology of the soul. They are. Walls are emotional malware left behind by the abuser. It's a virus. You don't need to be invincible. You need to be whole. And wholeness begins with resonance. So if this activated something in you and you want to ask some questions, you can, on Instagram and TikTok, just invite yourself, or I can invite a few folks, and I'll keep monitoring the questions on YouTube. But this is really what it is. This is how you escape walls to build boundaries, and boundaries that actually maintain your sovereignty, Ellie Wynn. Boundaries that actually support you, Sandy, right? This is what it's about. So walls, we don't need walls. All we need are boundaries. So let's take some questions here, right? And get into it. But this is the whole story, because walls also sever you. They sever you, they cut you off. Hi, Coach Raphael, how you doing?
Hi.
How's
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. I cannot complain. It was pretty good.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So walls and boundaries. What's been your experience with this? What can you say about this?
Well, as you were saying, walls, you're defending yourself. You're defending yourself, something that is not true. So, I always say that instead of saying, don't do this to me, say, I'll no longer accept what is being thrown my way. But here's the thing, though, I think it's important to understand, and I think a lot of people miss, right? You have to understand what a narcissist is. You have to understand what kind of narcissist you're dealing with, because they're not all the same. And I'm not saying understand in order to manipulate them. Understand in order how you're going to move in a particular way. How are you going to deal with a particular narcissist? Because they're not all the same. I know Tewabo mentioned about leaving. The only narcissist that I recommend leaving is the malignant and the psychopath. And that's because they're dangerous. They're going to try to do something to you, right? Those two, you got to leave, and then you got to. But here's the thing that we miss, okay? That's most important. If you do leave, because we have to leave at some point, what are you doing for yourself? How are you learning what your triggers are? Why did this narcissist show up in my life? Why are narcissists showing up in my life to begin with? What's within me that needs to be healed? Because you won't know how to create boundaries if you haven't done the work. You're left, then you need to start doing the work on yourself, because it might not be that one narcissist, but another narcissist is going to show up until you figure out what it is that you need to start learning about yourself. Is it fear of abandonment? What is it? Then we got to start working on that. And then you begin to gain that strength. You begin to learn who you are. You begin to understand who you are. And then the narcissist come and say, you're not going to talk to me this way. Because guess what? You've done the work. But if you keep leaving just to leave, it does nothing. Because guess what? The grocery store clerk is going to be the narcissist you're going to come across. The person who's dealing your taxes is going to be the narcissist that you're coming across. They're going to come across until you learn the lesson. Because what we must remember that, and I keep saying this all the time, it keeps coming to me all the time, you're a spiritual being. This is a spiritual lesson. We need to remove the idea that it's just this world and it's just this physical space. You are a spiritual being. The moment you begin to put that in your head and begin to live as such, then you got to do, if you're here as a spirit, you got to do the spirit work. And narcissism and any kind of mental health issues, whatever it is spirit work. The world is calling it mental, but it's spirit work. We came back here because when you leave out of here, guess what's going to be on the other side? Your insecurities. And you're taking them with you. Your insecurities are going to the other side. Your frustrations are going to the other side. You think, I want to check out of this earth. Well, when you get to the other side, you got all of that over there. And you got to come back and deal with it again. So those of you that are listening right now, and I'm not saying, I think I said this last week, the reason why they do what they do, because they have no power. You have the power. If you didn't have the power, there would be no need for them to do what they did to you. So begin to learn what it is that you need the healing from. And I'll share really quick with you, because I know this morning I was talking to my cousin. I have a family full of narcissists, full of manipulators, the whole entire family. I don't even know what I asked why did I come to this family? But it's because I need to finish this work, right? And I have a family that's very religious. Some parts are very, very religious. And talk about Buddhism. I practice Buddhism. I practice, I read the Bhagavad Gita. So it's like I do all of these things. So I'm looked a little different. So this morning, we were talking about, my cousin was sharing with me that her daughter has a little friend. They're 14 years old. She has a little friend, and the little girl said she was a lesbian. So the little girl was showing some things to her, and she started saying, ew. She started, this is disgusting, this, and that, and the other. In the name of Jesus, she started, So I said, that is homophobia. Now, the old Rafaela would have stayed quiet.
Ooh.
The old Rafaela will not say anything because, you know what? It's what they believe, is what it is. I'm not going to get in the middle of that. Because why? Rafaela doesn't want to cause an upset. Rafaela doesn't want to hear about she's wrong and she's going to hell. No, but Rafaela needed to be secure in Rafaela having her own convictions. So then I can say, no, that is homophobia. And regardless of what you believe or don't believe, what she did is homophobia. Let's call it for what it is.
How did it land? How did you feel speaking it?
It didn't land well because she came for me. She came for me with all she had. She came for me and she started, but then she made fun of religions, and that's religious intolerance. Yep, that's religious intolerance too. But let me tell you something. The religion that you believe in, it is one of the most intolerant ones there is in this world. And it's written and it is there. And I say this because I studied it, But then here's how it ended. Here's where the boundary comes. Because when I begin to see, okay, this is not going to go anywhere. Why? Because you're looking at something from one angle, and my angle is this wide. So I said, you know what? Here's the thing. I think it's wise for us to end this conversation because, and I say, the reason why I'm ending this conversation because what I have, the amount of information that I have and the amount of information that you have, they're not coinciding. So for me to continue to have this conversation with you, it's not really going to go anywhere. Therefore, I think it's wise for us to finish this conversation. And when I finished saying that, she just looked at me and I said, what do you think about my hair?
Looks great.
Now, the old Rafaela would have hung up. The old Rafaela would put up a wall because I would feel that I can't speak as if my belief would measure up to theirs. Now, and I'm glad that you talked about the difference in what's happening in your body, okay? The old Rafaela would have tightened up, tight chest. My throat would have got really dry. I probably would have started screaming, yelling, and hang up the phone and then call somebody else and complain about that person, right? But I didn't. I said what I had to say. I said, you know what? I think it's probably wise for us not to continue to have the conversation because I have information that you don't have, so it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And then I started talking about, my hair. The person was clearly uncomfortable because they're not used to me standing up for my belief system. They're used to me being agreeable. I was always agreeable because I didn't want to cause an upset. I didn't want to lose. If I say something, I'm not going to be able to talk to her again, or she's not going to, you know what I mean? Like all those things would be that fear.
Yeah.
But that fear wasn't there today.
No walls.
Was there discomfort?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because now the energy shifted. So that's the discomfort that you feel. But if you hold on to that, and you act as if, okay, this is as normal as could be, and you continue to have that conversation, at some point, they cannot come for you. They start to respect who you are. I have an aunt who's super religious who will tell me, like, you need to go back to, and then one day she's sending me videos on manifestation. And I had to laugh because I said, but here's what you were saying. When you begin to set the proper boundary, they have to. They don't have an option.
They don't.
Because guess what? They have no more power in your radius.
You said it. That part. I want you to emphasize that part. Really important.
They have no more power in your radius. Like you said, it is clean. They can't come in there and mess with it. They have no authority in that space. It's almost to start somewhere. And it's the first time you do it, yeah, it's going to feel a little weird because your body's not used to it. Your body's used to adapting. Your body's used to, so it's going to feel a little weird, but you have to remind your inner child, I got you. Ain't nobody going to mistreat you anymore.
That part.
You have to make that commitment to your inner child.
That part.
You have to let her know, say, from this point on, I'm going to protect you.
That part.
Because when a narcissist shows up, the person that shows up in front of them is the inner child, is not the adult. So you have to begin to cultivate that relationship with your inner child and let her know, I'm the one that's going to protect you from this point forward.
We are safe.
And the way this is going to go is like this. And you're right. They cannot, and they don't. They stay away. They will try to triangulate you, like put some family members around, but you got to set the boundaries for them too.
You said it. And that is the greatest self-love.
They will not mess with you.
They can't.
Guarantee you that.
They can't.
They can't.
They can't.
They cannot.
You said it. And you're not just saying it. You're embodying it, Raphael. Because you live this.
I lived it for all my entire life. I was born, like I think I mentioned it before.
Yeah.
My mother is a grandiose narcissist. My grandmother was a covert narcissist. My dad is a malignant narcissist. I have cousins right now who are narcissists. I have family members who have. I'm telling you, and when I tell people that my schooling was like really the narcissist of hard knocks, it was.
Yeah.
And now I can see it in 2 seconds. I know who they are. Like
2 seconds.
And they don't come near.
They can't. Do you know who
they can't.
Do you know who comes from a similar family, just like what you described?
Who?
You know who it is.
Who you do?
Yes.
Well, you know.
My whole life.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life. So you and I, we are lighthouses doing our jobs. Because I'm here because of that, just like you're here because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me just say this. It is our soul's work.
You said it.
Here's what I want people to really, if I can just leave with one thing, if everybody's listening to me. I want you to close your eyes and think of yourself as a spirit on a mission. You are the superhero of the story. You really are the superhero of this story. And in whatever other lives you've lived, if you believe in other lives, you said, I want to go, give me the hardest assignment because I can handle it. I want your soul to remember that. I want your soul to remember that God has given you this tough assignment because you can do it. You are the superhero of the story.
And why?
Plus,
and why?
Huh?
And why?
What?
What's the point?
What is the point? The point is this. The one that has suffered the most are the ones who understand love the most. Because the goal is to come to a place of not transportation. To come to a place that I am all that I am without judgment. All that I am. We're here to show the world what it is to love to be whatever it is without judgment. Because when you remove judgment, you begin to experience unconditional love. You don't have to go to heaven. You don't have to have a near-death experience. You don't have to have an out-of-body experience to understand that if you begin to show, and why is narcissism, like this treatment narcissism important? Because it does the total opposite of what unconditional love is. It's the inverted reality of it. So if we can master unconditional love, number one, first for ourselves, say, I'm going to accept me as I am, the way that I am, the way that I came here, when we begin to do that, we have understood and completed this mission. That is the goal. The only way that we get to unconditional love is to do the opposite of it. I mean, that's the task. That's the lesson.
That is the lesson, and impossible for the average person.
Impossible, but it's impossible because if you're not willing to look at it as your mission.
Precisely.
If you keep looking at yourself as a victim, no, you're not the victim. You are the okay. Give me the lesson. Let me see if I can figure this out. So all the narcissists that came in through our lives, especially our parents, we say, if I'm going to get the hardest lesson, give me the one that tried to abort me twice. Give me the one. Let my mother try to abort me twice. Couldn't succeed. I started at the womb, and there's something called in utero trauma. So my lesson started in the womb. But if the only way that I can learn unconditional love is by having rejection on the very instance of my conception.
See, what you just said is so beautiful, because real empaths incarnate through great wickedness.
Yep. That's the miracle. But it's the only way that we can understand unconditional love.
That is the miracle. I'm even subdued listening to you. I'm just this is what it is. This is exactly what it is.
And I'll say this, you guys. I've been doing this work since I was in my 20s, my mid-20s. I'm 52 years old. So what I'm talking about, I wasn't talking about that at 28 years old.
Yeah. You actually didn't start in your 20s.
Right, but you have to show up for yourself every day and do this work. The work starts after you leave the therapist's office. The work starts after you leave the coach's office. The work is going to start when y'all get off this live. Put everything that he's saying and apply it. See? You have to apply it, or else it doesn't work.
This is what it is. This is so beautiful, Coach Rafaela, that you're sharing and showing what unconditional love looks like. This is what this is about. This is what we're doing together, creating the new earth collectively.
Yeah.
And then we go, and then we create, and then eventually the new earth begins to show up where you are, because it's within. This is what it's about. Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is. And so I'm so grateful to you. I don't even think we need to take any more questions. You just said it all.
Sorry.
No. This is no. You didn't take time. This was the sharing, the balance, right?
Yeah.
We needed to hear the divine feminine perspective, and it brings balance. So this is what it is. We're soldiers in the army of love. That's all it is.
Love, you guys, the more you do the work, the more you begin to access the love that is really within all of us.
That's it. And by the way, someone just put in the chat, I just want to acknowledge this is a big deal. Tresha just got divorced. She walked away. So I just want to acknowledge that. She put that in the comments on Instagram.
Congratulations.
This is it. So
that is the beginning of your healing.
That's it. We've all been there. We walk that walk. We understand it. And most of us don't look like what we've been through. With Rafaela.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust the Creator.
Trust yourself. You said it. And I'm sending you so much gratitude and good energy to you.
Thank you for always welcoming me into your space.
We love having you here. You're always welcome, because it's the same message. Right? And we're carrying it together. We're all carrying it together for all of us. It's not personal, it's collective. Yeah. So I want to thank you, Coach Rafaela, so much.
Pleasure.
And come back anytime.
Love.
Much love. Come back anytime, yes?
All right.
Ciao.
Bye, everybody.
You heard the message. You heard it. And we're so fortunate we have powerful divine feminines who show up to share. You see, this is what it's about. It's about balance. So whatever you do it with love, do it with forgiveness. We started to stop trusting ourselves because of conditioning, pumpkin rice. And that's what happens when you enter this planet. This is the toughest planet from what I've gathered. So this is the message. Tresha, big up yourself. You understand me, Tresha? Big up yourself, Tresha. One love to everybody. Tresha got divorced. Everybody say congratulations to Tresha. Give thanks to Tresha. Congratulations, Tresha. I'm on here on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, right? So Tresha, congratulations. I'm going to celebrate with you this evening when I'm all said and done, right? I'm really, really happy for you for doing this for you and your kids, right? Whatever that means. So congratulations to you. Congrats coming in from Instagram and from TikTok and from YouTube. So I just want to say that this is real. We're changing our lives together, right? And it may seem we're just doing it on a free platform, but we're really connected. So again, if I can be of help to you, send me a note at nana@innermileage.com or book a free session on my website, innermileage.com, or you can check out my courses over there at innermileage.com. But hey, we're connected here. Come back Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're always here unless I'm traveling or something happens. And just find a reason to be happy today. You know, if nothing else, look at yourself in the mirror. And even if you don't feel like smiling, just begin to look at yourself, make yourself smile a little bit, slow smile. And as you start to smile at yourself, as you make eye contact with yourself, your heart starts to smile at you. So smile at yourself, you know? Smile at yourself today. Smile at yourself today. Do something nice for yourself today, right? Something that really honors who you are. So this is the message. This is the message. So I'm going to close with this song from Marlon Asha. Never see us fall. Never see us fall. Respect. Blessed. Blessed. Give thanks. Yeah? Remember, they can't hold us down. Give thanks. Peace. Falling down. Never. We're never falling. Falling down. One love, 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 one love. Happy week, yeah? Bring up yourself. One love. I appreciate you all too. One love. One love.